Again. Okay. Thank you everybody for joining us here today. I am Christine Robinson and I'm from the marketing team of Zoho Sites. And today we're going to be talking about the B2B marketing basics and how you can design LinkedIn campaigns for your audience. And I'm joined here with Ashish, who is the marketing manager. And so he's going to be also in this session talking about how, LinkedIn campaigns and how you can go about getting that ready for your audience and such. And so you can visit us at zoho.com/sites, and you can also write to us at marketing@zohosites.com. You can also click on the little social icons for LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook to visit us. And these are our channels, and so you can visit us there. We have a dedicated person who will be in contact and who will be able to answer whatever queries and questions you have. And so before we get started with this session, I'll just get through a little bit of the Showtime interface. And so you can see on the right hand side, you will find a little preview of all the slides that we have. And so at any time you find yourself lost, or you want to catch up and keep up, you can see that that particular slide will be outlined with the green box. And so you can always catch up with whichever slide we are at on that time. And then we also have the questions tab to your left. And so you can use that to talk to us, to ask us any questions, and we will answer you. And then, we'll have whatever questions, we will go and project them so everybody can see. And so, if you have any similar queries, you'll know what is being highlighted. And so that should probably answer whatever queries it is that you have. And then we have the chat box. And so, you can just contact us and we can just have like a live, chat session over there. So you can just interact with me and I'll just get to know you better. And then we also have our handouts. We've shared 4 handouts with you. And so you can download them and use them for learning or training material later. You can find that under the handouts tab. And then also while we are, presenting and showcasing our session, you can take down notes and that will be helpful for you a little later. And the session is also being recorded and it'll be shared with you within 1 or 2 days time. And so if any of you are joining late or just joining us now, I would just like to let you know that this session is being recorded and will be shared with you after. Now I just want to run a quick poll to get us going. So I'll just broadcast this here. I want to know what is it that you primarily use your website for? So if you could just go right ahead and answer. Okay. We've got to share content. We've got the most votes on that. Okay. And then coming up second, we have as a portfolio. Okay, I hope. Okay, now to collect leads is coming up in second. So it looks like for the most part, we are using our websites to share content and then to collect leads and then as a portfolio. We just have 1 vote for building your email list, right? Okay. That's good to know. So now we can get into how we can use LinkedIn as like another area for you to expand on your website and your reach. And so getting into that, I'm just going to switch control over to Ashish and he will take us from there in just a moment. Okay, Ashish, I'm handing it over to you now.
Okay, I'm just waiting for the, yep, there it is. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Christine. Hello, everyone. This is Ashish. I'm so glad to be here today. And we just saw an amazing poll happen. Just a quick time check with just a minute above when we were supposed to start. So I think Christine has done a great job of bringing us all up to speed. Also, to there are a lot of people just joining us, so I can see the numbers really racking up as we start the session. So I'm just gonna take a couple of maybe 20 odd seconds to just remind everyone that on this panel, if you have any questions for us, there's a questions tab. So please use that to type in our questions. Christine is gonna be handling that particular tab, and of course, at any point in time she feels there's a very pertinent question to that particular topic we're discussing, she's gonna bring it up, right? So our eyes are focused on the questions tab. So please type in there. And in case you have any audio visual issues, try refreshing your browser a couple of times. If that doesn't work, please let us know in chat and we will try to fix something here. Great. Uh, so I am just going to go ahead and conduct another poll because I why don't I wait a slide for it though? Let's start a little bit and see what happens. So before I actually in earnest start talking about the B2B audience, sorry, the LinkedIn, the topic we have for the day, that is how to build your campaigns on LinkedIn. I wanted to speak about the B2B audience, right? And wanted to sort of refresh everybody here that the session here today is about B2B marketing, right? So we're talking about the B2B audience. So you know your target audience already well, right? That's the function of B2B or any marketing really. So you have to remember to create content accordingly. That's a caveat you have to start with. Um, the sales cycles in B2B are much longer, so relationships matter much more, right? In B2C, the word brand sort of replaces this relationship thing, right? So as a B2C brand, that entity that the brand sort of controls can have a direct relationship with each and every customer, so you feel close to Coca-Cola versus a Pepsi, and that's what your relationship with the company or the product is. Whereas in B2B it's more human to human or sales to buyer kind of a relationship. That's why you have a CRM in B2B, and probably don't as much of a CRM in B2C marketing or B2C sales, right? The third thing and the third important point to remember is B2B has always traditionally relied on sales much more. So there is that final uh, touch point that customers have to go through to reach your product, that is sales. While that reliance on sales is slowing down now, it is still very significant. And we have some stats all over the slide here, which I'm sure you would have read by now. So why is the process longer? Is in the chart on your screens. Is essentially there is a lot of disagreement over price, value. A lot of products are complex, services are complex. So a lot of difficulty in understanding them, sharing information internally. Can it be done? Can't it be done? What's the special add-on price for it, etc. Or we're talking about 80% of business decision makers prefer to get company information from a series of articles versus an advertisement, right? So this supports the fact that you need to produce content which is very specific to them, right? And you can't just have like an advert saying a single line, drink Coca-Cola, and your the product is going to sell. That just doesn't work as easily in uh, B2B. That being said, let me sort of cover my bases and say that brand is important in B2B. But what I meant by brand not being as important is in terms of selecting or having a relationship with your customer. That's a very human thing or a very sales controlled activity, right? So we have covered our bases. We are moving on. This, by the way, is going to be a pretty short presentation in terms of number of slides. So I'm going to move slow. I'm going to take questions as we go. So please feel free to ask me anything you wish to, and we're going to do polls as much as possible. So a quick check. All right. So Christine is having a conversation with Sharon in chats, and we've just hit 100 attendees. So welcome everyone. Again, we've just had a prelude to our conversation, and we're going to just dive into the main conversation today. So the first point of discussion today will be the organic versus paid discussion on LinkedIn, straight off the bat, right? This is the elephant in the room, which I have been in B2B marketing for over a decade now, and Since the advent of LinkedIn paid campaigns, the moment you hear LinkedIn in B2B, people assume it's going to be paid marketing and everything else. So I want to sort of handle this question straight away. The next thing we're going to talk about is the strategy part, right? So as a business, how do you use LinkedIn, right? As an individual, we sort of understand how to use LinkedIn, but we're going to try and figure out how we use you know uh, this platform for our business purposes. The next thing is for the objective that we're trying to achieve out of each and every campaign, or how do we actually go about figuring out from the strategy phase, how do we move to an objective and measurement phase. And then the final thing will be the campaign design itself, and how do you sort of so we'll try and give you some examples of what we do, and what I have learned in some of the companies I have worked for in the past. So again, feel free to ask any questions at any stage, and I'll be happy to answer them. Vanessa has asked our first question for the day. Vanessa, this session is being recorded, and we will share a recording with you in a couple of days' time. I think over the weekend, we'll just sort of edit it and then sort of send it out to you. I hope that works. Uh, Great. So, right to the point here, right? So this is the first point we're trying to make, which is organic versus paid. A lot of information on the slide. It's sort of text heavy, and it's in your face a little bit, but there it is, right? So what I'm gonna sort of just cover here quickly is organic is your voice, right? It is exactly what you want to say, and it is sort of generic in nature because you don't really know who you are talking to, right? You don't There is no control over targeting, right? So I'll just talk about organic first, and then I'll move on to paid, right? So in the first box, we see LinkedIn is a content marketing platform, right? So when you're doing organic, you have to think content. You have to think, so anybody who reads that post I put up, what is he getting out of it? What is the value that he receives, right? So that's the point of creating content. The point of creating content is that your customers or your potential customers receive value. It is the point of content is not to sell at any point, because content can't do that. The other reason LinkedIn is the other important thing on LinkedIn is it's almost become a research platform for millennials, right? So if you're picking a company to join, or if you're, you know, figuring out if you should be buying from that person, or who did I just speak to on the phone, right? So let's say you get a cold call from a company, speak to them, and then you can just easily go on LinkedIn and figure that who this person is, who he works for. So it's almost like a research platform now. So in essence, what you need to do is post a lot of great content and build cadence, right? You have to have very repetitive uh, and successful campaigns that you have to do here. All right. So Christine wants to get my attention. Tell me, Christine. Um, okay, Christine. No. All right. So Christine wants me to check if everybody can hear me. Okay. And are you having trouble hearing me, Tom? Oh, awesome! Thank you so much. Thanks. I will just. All right, Sam. Thank you so much. So I guess. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. So yes, I think I am audible. So I'll just go ahead. So right. So I was at the point of talking about what you need to do with organic, right? So you need to post great content, and you need to build cadence. You need to be regular about whatever you're doing. Whereas the downsides of organic per se is that it takes a lot of time and effort, right? It's slow. It's a lot of slow results, but it builds on top of each. It builds a pyramid for you, really. It doesn't go away even in 1,000 years, right? You can make a tiny mistake, a series of tiny mistakes, and nothing's going to go bad. That's what the power of organic is. But again, as I mentioned, there is no control over targeting. I'll quickly move on to paid. And paid is sort of a platform where and especially with LinkedIn, right? Paid is super targeted. You can target it you can target your campaigns or your content at uh, directors of marketing in 20 companies, 20 named companies, right? As long as your campaigns have at least 300 people that LinkedIn can target, you can create that campaign. Believe it or not, you can create campaigns around people's your target's email IDs. So it's really really targeted, right? And you can, so even if you don't know who your customers are, if you know that your customers uh, are work in the IT department of you know Fortune 500 companies in Middle East, right? You can do that on LinkedIn, because that's how the platform is. That level of targeting does not exist in any other platform for B2B. So in a sense, it's amazing. uh, but that's probably the greatest thing about LinkedIn when it comes to paid marketing. But the downside is, first of all, it's expensive. It's sometimes almost 5 times or 6 times more expensive than a Google campaign would do with similar results. So it's just crazy in those times, right? Because it's so super targeted, your campaigns can be really expensive, right? The other downside is, and which I have observed personally in my when I've handled both these platforms simultaneously to try and achieve the same result, is that LinkedIn has no intent at all, right? So think about, why do you go to LinkedIn, right? You're not going there to buy at all. Whereas let's say on a Google search bar, when you go and type something, there's a lot of intent. How do I do this? Or what is the best platform to do this? Or top 5 platforms to do this? Uh, you cannot do that on LinkedIn, or that is not your intent. So the intent is completely messed up. While as a company, as an advertiser, I can target perfectly. I can't create or produce that intent. Um the other issue with paid campaigns, and I'll cover this in detail later, is paid campaigns really work well only if your organic is strong. It sounds weird, and believe me that LinkedIn is working hard to solve this problem, but that is true. Right now, paid works well only if your organic is strong in the first place. Anyways, we have a quick tip here, that whenever you do start with LinkedIn paid campaigns, start with retargeting. uh, you have a system where you can create a list, and your potential customers who have already been to your website, you can target only them. And again, of course, all those targeting filters of uh, job titles, number of years in the industry, number of years with the company names, everything remains as is anyway. So it's a very good overlap targeting that you can do. Right. So that's the first point that I have covered. It has taken us around 15 minutes to get to this point. And we are well, I would say we are well past 50% of the real crux of the topic that we want to cover. So we are good for time. I'm just quickly going to catch up with the questions we have in front of us. Awesome. So, hmm, all right. Jake asked us what is cadence. So, Jake, cadence is like, it's a regularity. So let's say, if you have a weekly call, that's a weekly cadence. So yeah. Oh wow. So Ray has answered it amazingly well. So I'm taken aback. That is awesome, Ray. Rhythmic flow. Let me just project it. This is amazing. A rhythmic flow of a sequence of sounds or words, the cadence of language, the flow or rhythm of events, especially the pattern in which something is experienced, the frenetic cadence of modern life. That is poetic. I did not know B2B was so poetic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ray, for that. Um, Manuel, amazing question. What is a good conversion rate in LinkedIn? But stick with me. I will get to it. It's towards the end of our conversation, so I just want to do it as a big reveal or something. I'm kidding. I'll get to this. Uh, Terence, thank you for that question. What are you referring to? Say when you say organic. What I mean with organic is anything that you do which is not paid. So let's say you set up an event on LinkedIn, or you set up a company page and you post. So any post that you type in and put up on your company page or from your own handle, that to me is organic. Pretty standard, I think, in marketing terms, where where you don't have to pay the platform to do something. That is organic stuff. When you have to pay them, that becomes paid. All right. Um, Cindy, amazing question again. Let me just throw that up there. So when you're talking about paid, are you talking about sponsored ads or Sales Navigator? I am talking about sponsored ads. Thank you so much. Sales Navigator is again a pure play research tool for sales guys. It does not really, it is not really meant to be an advertising tool per se. So I'm going to be talking only about sponsored ads here. While you do pay LinkedIn for Sales Navigator, it's almost like premium plan of the standard usage for people. So we're going to discount Sales Navigator for now. I know you can do amazing research on it, and yeah. um, right, Luis, thank you for that question. I will talk about retargeting again. Um, Jake. All right. Sorry. In the context of content, again, as in whenever you're creating content, in a sense, whatever you write and create and put up on the platform is, or just type your post in and put it up without having to pay the platform is organic. Is what I mean. And when it comes to putting up an ad, that is what would be a paid thing, because in ads what you have is a lot more, you have a lot more ability to change around things, and you're not constrained by just one format that LinkedIn allows you usually for a post. So you can have carousel ads, and you can have tons of things that you can play around with. So that's the idea. um, Oh yeah, of course, Jorge. When I say that, so I'll just project this question. So can you explain a little bit about no control over intent? So I will just sort of, I spoke about it. I'm going to talk about it again. Uh, right. Okay. So I thought I missed the. Oh, I missed the question. It has gone over to the other side of the platform, which is no control over intent. So by intent in marketing, I mean intent to buy. So let's say I go to Google and I type in what is a good software for building a website, right? What's a good website builder software, right? So I'm doing that research. So I have intent to do that research. Uh, what if I type what is the cheapest or what is the best value, or for a B2B company, which is the best uh, website building platform, right? This is definitely a signal of intent, right? So a lot of so as an advertiser, I can go and bid on that particular keyword, uh, and get your attention with an advertisement on Google, right? So the idea is that you're already on the platform and you're looking for a B2B website builder software. That is intent. To a marketer, that's an intent statement. Whereas on LinkedIn, I know you run a business of your own. I know that you probably, of course, need a website, but I cannot tell whether you already have a website or you don't have a website. Are you looking to buy right now, or are you not looking, or you have already bought, made that purchase? No way of me knowing that, right? So if I advertise that to you, then I am, that's an advertisement without intent. It's like putting up a billboard outside. It's just very targeted, but it's just like putting up a billboard, and I have no idea whether you intend to buy from me or can afford to buy from me, or any of those questions I can't answer. Right. Quickly, I'll just move on to the next point. Before we move on, sorry. So I had a few tips for everybody here. That just quick three tips. Say that the world is becoming visual. Of course, we have no doubts about it. Our attention spans are reducing, and everything else. So take a visual approach now. Although it is sort of, it is still, you can write long posts on LinkedIn and they're appreciated, but try and take a little bit of a visual approach. Have great pictures, probably designed uh, professionally or something. If you include links, they usually higher engagement on those posts. Believe me or not, but that is LinkedIn research. It says updates including links can have can have up to 45% higher follower engagement. So yeah, found it hard to believe too, but I have had multiple discussions with LinkedIn on them. I've run multiple campaigns. It is true. So and by the way, write only for your audience. uh, you will not believe the number of times I come across companies who will post content just because they believe that that content is good to post. Right, that's not how it works. You have to sort of understand what your or who your audience is and post contextually. You can't just randomly start posting stuff which makes no sense to your buyer or it's not in his domain at all. Right. Awesome. Christine has a very good hold on the chat box, so I'm just gonna move to the next slide. Right. So now we're going to point number two in our discussion. We've just talked about organic posts and how you should sort of plan around those. Now I'm going to talk about channel strategy. So right, Christine just told me that we have a few questions that we should look at. Um, I'll just have a quick read through. So, Jake, thank you for the question. Jake's question is there's no way for us to come up only in response to a search. LinkedIn is building it right now. Jake, what they're doing is they're going deeper into content, building out this hashtag strategy. So if you search for a hashtag or if you search for a word, it'll usually go through a search on hashtag. So your posts might come up, but not necessarily your company. If you have really optimized your page and all your content is around hashtag, then maybe it might come up. It's a very that algorithm is evolving very rapidly, so I don't really know. If you ask LinkedIn directly, they won't really know, because again, like all B2B companies, they're all, the product team is really separated from sales guys. So no real answer to it. Keep trying to figure it out. At some point they just might. um, Again, Jake, we're going to come to links towards the end of the presentation, so I'm just going to wait for that one. Good question. So again, Jake asks us a question, which is, what kind of links improve engagement? I'm just going to cover that later. Does increase in engagement mean they're responding to me or following the link? So LinkedIn gives you this number, which is just a flat number, which says here is a percentage. So that's all I mean by this. I mean, it's just a flat percentage. It is actually a combination of both increase in engagement and response. But no, in this particular case, when we say on a post, if you have a link, it's actually a click on that link. And a response will be a post engagement and not a link engagement. So yeah, in a sense, if your posts have a lot of engagement, maybe that's what the research meant. I'm not really sure what exactly the research meant. um, all right, quickly. So yeah, just talking about this funnel, everybody has had enough time to look at it. So the idea here is this is a very standard marketing funnel, right? This is again a simplified marketing funnel, but quite standard, which is the entire journey of a potential client starts at the awareness stage. That's where they first find out about you. Then comes the stage where if they are ready to make, or if whenever they think they're ready to make a purchase, they will they consider your name or your company or not? Does it come up in a conversation? Do they remember you? Is there recall? That is the consideration stage. When that's where a client reaches after the awareness stage. uh, and then the third stage is when he actually converts, when he starts talking to your sales teams, or he's ready to convert. All those signals where there's conversations going on, the calls happening, and their proposals going to and fro. So that is all the conversion stage. When he actually and at the end of the conversion stage, he's bought from you, right? So anybody flowing through that third stage is bought from you. So the loyalty stage is pretty straightforward. The word explains it all. You might have thousands of customers, but only maybe 5 to 10% of them would swear by your name, right? And they would be extremely loyal to you. They will not go to competition, however good they offer the deal, however good a deal they offer, I'm sorry, and so on and so forth. But then there is that final 2% of customers who is your advocate, right? That guy will actually talk about you in events. He'll when you call him up, he will pick up your phone and so on and so forth. So that's the brand ambassador in B2C terms, but we're talking about customer advocacy here. So this is a very standard marketing funnel. I've just sort of talked through it. If you have any trouble understanding this, just Google it. A marketing funnel is extremely standard. You will find millions of articles. You will find millions of different explanations. This is the one I like to go by. So, moving on, we're going to talk about how this particular strategy fits into our discussion. Oopsie. Right. So, this is where we are, right? So, I'm going to now sort of discuss why organic first and paid later. It sounds counterintuitive because paid comes first in the funnel, and I'm going to talk about why. But organic first. So here, we have already talked about the different stages, right? So, first, we will talk about the objective that you're trying to achieve at each stage. So, at the awareness stage, your objective is as much traffic as possible, as targeted traffic, because you want to have people who, first of all, are potential buyers, potential customers. So, as targeted, you don't want the head of sales when you have a marketing automation software, right? So that's the idea here, but as much of it, right? So that's why the topmost layer, biggest layer. So your objectives here are traffic. So you need website. How do you measure it? You need website visits, number of social impressions, and you need clicks here, right? So if you're running a campaign, you need clicks, and so on and so forth. So that's your paid layer. And then your organic layer is when you're talking about consideration. What your organic layer needs to do is the content itself, right? So what is the value you're delivering to that client? Is there a brand recall? So how is your content being consumed? How many, how long are people, for example, we are doing this webinar, right? So how long do people stick around? So that's a metric of consideration, for example, right? I mean, does not fit well because webinars are not consideration stage tactics, but never mind. I just wanted to talk about as an uh, make a point there. And then we're talking about soft leads, right? So a lot of companies will gate their content, right? They'll put their content behind a paywall, or they'll put it behind a form which people have to fill. And so all of those are soft leads, right? If you're calling those leads, or you're calling them potential business leads, they're probably not. That's a mistake. So if you're gating your content, that gate is a soft lead, right? It's a marketing lead. It's not even a marketing qualified lead. It's definitely not a sales qualified lead. So making a call on it is not going to work, right? So now I'm going to talk about an analogy which will explain why I said you need to have an organic campaign before paid. So the analogy is quite simple. Think that you're transferring a lot of water from larger container to a smaller container. So the smaller container is our marketing funnel. Now, what happens if the funnel is broken and you don't have organic, or organic is weak? And if that game is weak, you have a big hole in your container where all the water just leaks out, right? So you can throw as much money as you want into your paid campaigns. All of it is just going to go out and leak out, and it's going to deliver zero value to you, right? Whereas if you have great organic game going on, you will have uh, only then when you do paid, you will have some outcome of it, right? So but then it's not just organic on LinkedIn which will give you. It has to be a deeper game, right? Of course you'll need conversion before that. Your conversion metrics have to be very set up, very clearly set up as well. So I'm just going to quickly talk about conversion now and say that how does that impact everything. So in the conversion metric, what you need is, that's where you need to create a purchase intent, right? So when you're creating a purchase intent, what you need is a very solid explanation of your value prop, right? Why should they buy from you is the value proposition, right? And that's what your explanation there is. What you're trying to do at this stage, at the conversion stage, is create a sales lead. So your campaign or your content has to have specific things like landing pages, ebooks, that content which will really bring people to the point of converting and actually asking for a demo if you're selling software, for example. So in the SaaS world, it's like demo is the biggest metric for the conversion part of the funnel, right? So or usually it's just a form fill, right? Or contact sales now, or call this number, or something of that nature, right? Where there is a active action of actually reaching out, or inviting somebody else to reach out to you, right? So I have at this point talked about why organic comes first. So in a sense, conversion comes first, where you have to have those landing pages and everything else set up, so that when your organic posts are put up and your organic channel is working well, you will start to see some conversion happening. And that's an indication that this part of the funnel is set up. And then you can start really pouring out large quantities of water and really pushing money in, right? Otherwise, it's all just most of the money which you put in here goes to waste. Before I get into questions, I'll just also mention that we're going to talk about all these metrics. So I promise you, we're going to talk about engagement percentages and all of that right in the next slide. So I'm just going to consider. I'm not going to consider those questions right at this point, but definitely in the next slide. Vanessa, amazing question. But I'm going to talk to you at the next level of next slide, not yet. Uh, Manuel, again, next slide. Next slide, Sharon. Next slide, Manuel. Next slide. All right, awesome. So I see a lot of very, very pertinent question. I'm getting excited, guys. So I'll just look at all the chats, and then I'm just gonna move on to the next one. Um, Right. Manuel, I see that Christine is probably having trouble keeping up with all the questions and all the chats. I'll tell you what. We have already talked about an email ID, right? Why don't you put together all your questions, send it out to me? I'll be very happy to answer them. Our email ID, me and Christine, we are at marketing@zohosites.com. We will display it to you right at the end of this thing as well. So collate your questions, send it out. I'll be very happy to answer them. Um, all right, I didn't get that. All right, Sharon, I'll just move on. Um, Perfect. I think Scott, that's a way that's the best articulation I've heard. I'm surprised, and I think that's how all of us should think about it. So Scott just said on the chat window that build your funnel bottom up, but fill it top down. Absolutely 100% right. There is no better articulation. I could just have sort of removed all of this explanation, just put these words up, and it would work like work like magic. So right, I'm still cognizant of time, so I'm just going to quickly jump to the next slide. Right. Uh, Pardon the funky design. It's not even a design, but all right. So here are your percentages, guys. Uh, so on the channel objective side, what we're trying to do, I'll repeat this is of course a repetition, where we're saying we're trying to deliver value, right, at that organic level. This is all an organic discussion now. So at the organic level, when I'm talking about that pyramid, I'm talking about the consideration stage. So at the consideration stage, I'm trying to deliver value to my clients. I'm trying to build a lot of recall so that they remember me. So if somebody follows me and post at least twice a week, and my posts keep going to him, he trusts me. If my content resonates with the client, if he feels I'm saying the right things, and he reads it and he builds trust over time, then he will remember my name, right? If he is in a conversation, he might actually use some of the statistics I threw up on my page, right? And that is subconscious trust I'm building. So as a marketer, the reason I'm doing organic first is I'm building trust. LinkedIn's own research says this: you need to have, and it's ad research, by the way, somebody needs to see your ad at least 5 to 7 times before they will take an action on it, right? This is it's absolutely a mirror of what happens on organic as well. Nobody's going to see a post from you and say, wow, these are the guys I was looking for, and just on one post, and just buy from you. unless they go to your website, unless they read five other posts, unless they read your customer testimonials, unless they read all of that, there is no trust. One post does not change anything. So that's why you need to keep engaging again and again and again. Right? Keep posting more and more content, regular cadence, as has already been very well explained. As in, I'm going to copy that explanation, by the way. So that's what we're trying to achieve, right, with organic first. And so what do I mean by engagement rate uh, of 2%? I mean, I think it's very well explained actually. Likes plus comments on your views. So when you post on LinkedIn on organic, the admin of that page can see the number of views that post has had, right? So now let's say the post has had 100 views. If there are at least two likes on it, or there is a like and a comment or two comments, you've got your 2% engagement rate, right? It's a pretty easy number to achieve. But this is the lower threshold, right? A great organic achievement is at least 7%. So the number is actually 2 to 7%, right? As soon as you start crossing that 7% benchmark, that's when you start moving in the right corner that you see in front of you. But don't start paid before you have 2% engagement rates on your organic posts, right? That's a good indicator. By the way, LinkedIn backs it. They will not swear by it. You take this recording to them, show them, they will not agree with it. But I have it in confidence that this is sort of true. The next thing is, if you're beginning to see leads, right, or if you're so we're just measuring our organic strategy here. So the first measure was engagement rate, the second one was leads. Believe it or not, you will start seeing some people at mentioning their colleagues, or calling out or linking other people. Of course, don't tell me that we put up a hiring post and a lot of people were mentioned, so I have a successful organic campaign. Of course it's successful, but it's not going to give you business. Employees, yes. So if that's the objective, it's a very different ball game, right? But if leads is the objective, and you have your target market, uh, and people you think are in the right place who would like to buy or at least engage or are potential customers, they're at mentioning their clients is a very good indicator. Sorry, at mentioning their colleagues, a very good indicator of something good is happening. The final thing is, and it's sort of sometimes mostly I believe it's very difficult to achieve because businesses don't create good content consistently. Individuals do that much better. But the idea is, if once in a while you start seeing your business post trending on LinkedIn Pulse, and you start seeing those I'm sure you've seen those messages, right, which LinkedIn Pulse has. So uh, on hashtag, so we see a lot of posts every day from LinkedIn which says, so hey, Zoho sites hashtag website is these are the topics which are trending on website builders or website softwares. Would you like to comment or something like that, right? So if you start seeing your post there, that's an amazing indicator, right? That's step three. You are there, you're ready for paid right now. So three main things that you need to take, you need to measure when you're doing organic for business. The other thing is, if your customers actually start DMing you or commenting you and trying to uh, you know speak to sales or via the channel ask you for more information on the product itself, you're ready. And getting comments and messages about your product services regularly, I mean, it's the same point essentially. That's how it's going to work. Just a quick check on. Right. All right. So this is, I think, I hope everybody sort of catches on to this explanation, and I get some questions only. Sorry, I get some questions. I was just reading. I started reading a question in front of me. Uh, all right. So I have this question from Vanessa here, which says, how long can an organic campaign stay? Any recommendations so that it does not lose interest? We're going to talk about organic campaigns very specifically again in the next slide, but ideally, organic campaigns are forever, right? But a particular post will probably give you enough mileage only a couple of times. right? So the right idea when you think of posts is that you post them every 3 months or maybe every 2 months. If it's a great article, you have a different angle to it, right? And you highlight a different part of it and post about it and link the same article, maybe change the picture. So it's always important to reuse your content, recycle your content, and you don't necessarily need to produce content over and over and over again from scratch. So ideally, if you have a 1,000 word blog, uh, 10 posts easily on it. So that's at least 10 weeks worth of material. But in fact, if you skip a week and post those ten posts, you're thinking about 20 weeks here. So that's almost 6 months of content, not six, but maybe five. Uh, I've really, uh, all right. Very pertinent question from Marianella. If you're not seeing these organic goals achieved regularly, uh, I would really recommend not to do paid ads, because as in the beginning of the conversation we started with, uh, they're very targeted. Your ads are very targeted. So if you're organic, if you have organic achievement, these ads are gonna work like magic. So you better invest your time and energy in getting your organic right, and then you're gonna have an amazing time. So yes, absolutely. You can pay for ads because they will give you immediate benefit, but they won't convert as well. You probably won't be very happy with the campaigns at the end of it. Right. um I just want to check with everybody if you can still hear me, because um, hey Sharon, can't you see the slides? Oh, okay, awesome. Daniel, can you hear me and see the slides as well, right? Sharon, did you try refreshing the browser once? Would you? All right, Rod, thank you so much. Um, if anybody's at all is having any trouble, please do refresh your browser. It should be absolutely fine again. Thank you, guys. All right, moving on. Um, right on. I'm going to just quickly tackle a question from Manuel. It has been waiting quite some time. At what point should I start with LinkedIn paid campaigns? How many connect posts, or there's an optimum feature to say, okay, let's start with paid ads? I think I just answered that question, Manuel. Awesome. I'm so happy this is right. So, that was very pertinent question, a very pertinent answer. Well done, Ashish. All right. Moving on. And don't worry, the slides will be available, and of course, the recording will be available. You can always write to me. Do not forget that. So I've been in B2B a long, long time, so I don't mind any questions. Just send me a link of your website. Tell me what you're trying to do. I'll try and help you out as much as I can. Right. Now we're down to the last topic, which is designing our organic campaigns. Now I've taken the liberty to really stuff text in there, right? Just like all of our decks are, we are all B2B, so we know exactly how text heavy we tend to be, right? Haven't we all seen this slide in some form or the other in our lives before, right? So and what an oxymoron, writing designing your organic campaign and then just not designing anything in there at all. But yeah, excuse me for that. So content calendar is the first thing that you need to build, right? And content calendar is deceptively easy to build. Take an Excel sheet, column number A, put the dates that you just pull that column down, put all your dates in, right? Column B, put the days of the week in there, and the first example that I have. So the idea I'm trying to push here is push yourself to post every day. So if you publish regularly, decide how many posts you want to do and stick to that schedule, right? So one easy way of doing it, as I just explained, column A, column B, put dates and days of the week, is decide on a days of the week campaign, or actually anything else at all. Build your content calendar from scratch. So we at Zoho, this is actually an example from Zoho Commerce. So we do, so I do Zoho Commerce and Zoho Sites. So On Zoho Commerce, we're building a campaign right now. As of now, our social media manager is working on a campaign called Feature Friday, right? That campaign is going to run every Friday. It's going to talk about one software feature every single Friday. Our software probably has 100 features. So we have made a list of 52 features and writing a post against each. That's a year's worth of content for every single Friday of the year. That's amazing, right? And what we're going to do is use a software like Zoho Social, uh, and you can schedule your entire uh, year's worth of content onto that single software, and you just then have to take care of engagement. We're going to talk about engagement in the next slide. It's a very important part which I haven't really highlighted as much, but we're going to talk about actually in the same slide. Yeah, that's point number 3. But that's how we're planning it, right? So I know the pain of creating content day after day every day, but the point is you don't have to sit back and decide that, well, okay, what do I write today? What's my post like today? How do I start writing it? So the idea is, uh, pick I mean, set up your content and then just think about engaging with each and every post. That's the idea, right? Engage with people, think how you can improve it all the time, and so on and so forth. That's an example. The other example is that you can have case study or customer speak posts where you pick a few customers and get a testimonial from them, get a video recorded or get an audio call, take sound bites, post them, right? Uh, from a single interview with a customer, you'll probably get 10 sound bites. Use all of them. As I just explained, that you could have, if you write one piece of content, you can create 10 posts on it with different angles, different aspects, highlighting different aspects, etc. Also, LinkedIn has this amazing recommendation, which it calls 411, which is for every post talking about yourself. You should have one post talking about your customer and four posts from the market talking about that topic, right? Or the industry which you are in. That's LinkedIn's 411 recommendation for posting content. Uh, by the way, in the handouts tab, you have this PDF file called LinkedIn Organic Paid, which is actually LinkedIn Organic versus Paid. Uh, Organic and paid. I don't think it's a versus, but please do download it. It's an amazing piece of content. That's how I started on my LinkedIn journey all these, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And a lot of our content overlaps, right? And it's coming from LinkedIn, so you can't go wrong. So just have a look at it. It's a well designed piece. It'll be informational to everybody. uh, we also have a few other handouts which you can download. One of them is telling your brand story, which is extremely important. Coming up with the best blog content. We have been talking about how to come up with blogs and content. Try that workbook. These are all marketing workbooks, by the way, that we built. And building your buyer's journey, which talks about one form of the funnel. It's not exactly the funnel that I explained. It's another, even more simplified form of that funnel. So yeah, why not start there? I have a question here. Question from Manuel. Amazing. You're asking a ton of pertinent questions here, Manuel. I was asking about the number of blog articles that we should create every week or month, because it is difficult to generate more than one per week. Believe it or not, Manuel, it's difficult sometimes for some companies. It is difficult to create more than one a month. So uh, but as I said, the entire idea is not about how many fresh pieces of content can you create. It is about how many fresh angles to the same piece you can bring out, right? Let me talk about some examples, right? From the top, at the top of my head, right? So we were so I was writing this piece of content about editing, right? So I was writing, how do you edit content which a content writer produces or a content writer in training produces, and what's the right way to edit it, and how many types of edits. There are actually 6 types of editors and kinds of edits you need to make in a content piece. So right off the bat, as I said, there are 6 types of edits that I write in that blog, right? So, for example, copywriting. So the copywriting is a normal edit, and for fact check is another kind of edit, and so on and so forth. So, you take this and you say, you can talk about each of these edit types on a post. right? So you have 6 posts right off the bat. And then you're talking about, have you considered that one editor is not enough to cover all your bases? You might need a team of more than one. That's another post. And so that's the idea. One blog, multiple posts. Then you add on a quick soundbite. You talking about that post that you wrote for maybe 30 seconds. That's another piece. You probably can have a quick infographic that you make, right? Um, Try Canva, right? Make an infographic on it. That's another post. So that's how you sort of recycle it. It's a very simplified answer. Since you're writing the content, you know exactly how it can work. Maybe you cannot make 10 posts out of one piece, but definitely 4 to 5 posts, and that's how you need to look at it. Right. Again, I'm talking about the middle of the slide now, the type of content, right? And it's sort of a segue into this. So ebooks, right? Why not write just blogs? If you have published 6 or 7 blogs already on the same topic, or similar topics, you could combine them into an ebook. That's almost like a lead magnet, right? You can gate it, and people would download that ebook, and you would have soft leads, where you can create an email campaign, and eventually they will convert to sales leads, right? You could have cultural posts. You could talk about employee engagement or culture building, and a lot of people are doing it. A lot of big companies are doing that right now. A lot of B2C companies are making videos over Zoom these days. That's amazing, right? By the way, I'm not supposed to say Zoom, so I'll edit this out, and we're supposed to say Zoho Showtime. That's what we're using right now. So yeah, over the Showtime, I guess, and so on and so forth. And the final kind, the another important point of content which gets overlooked usually, and again, all jokes apart, USP and differentiation. It helps to create a visual differentiator on your posts, right? So when you're looking at the image, so Nat Geo, right? You remember the yellow rectangle that they have? Their wildlife, yes, but the yellow rectangle sticks with, it's Nat Geo. They don't need to write National Geographic anywhere. Discovery is struggling right now. They're trying it out with the triangle, with the Earth, and so on and so forth. But we understand Discovery, right? It's the image of a D with that half an Earth visible, and so on and so forth. So that's the idea, right? It might not be immediately recognizable. You might think it's your logo. If your logo is simple enough, then yes. But if it's a complicated logo, it's not going to work. Uh, so think about that visual differentiation. And of course, there is a USP, the stated USP of your product or service. State it regularly. You might not want to state it on every single blog or every single post, but every single week, definitely yes, right? So state it as much as possible. The final point here is engagement. Cannot stress this enough. Most people get caught up in the entire content calendar, type of content, creating content itself. The point of all this content, let's not forget, is getting leads. We're doing it for marketing, right? So engage with your customers, engage with analysts, other companies, not necessarily competitors. You can engage with your partners. You can join relevant groups where your audience is, or maybe even where your partners are, and start engaging there. you know if there's a conversation going on, you think your blog is relevant, say that, hey, I wrote about this, and I think this is a relevant point here. Mention some of your partners, your business partners, your colleagues, and bring them into the conversation, right? Which you think is pertinent. It will really, really push people to. There are a lot of people who actually would go back and look at your profile, look at your company's profile. That really gets your attention. And the influencers in your domain are extremely important, just like any other social media channel. Connect with them, listen to them, engage on their posts, talk about your opinion, talk about your service in a very contextual manner. Do not spam, of course, do not spam. And the idea is to listen and engage into conversation, right? And that's what LinkedIn promotes, because it's a social media platform, right? um, just a quick time check. We are at 55 minutes. So I think I have overrun a lot here. I just got carried away, maybe. I will just quickly look at some of the questions. Um, a question from Lindsay. So to confirm, you're posting different content angles, but linking back to the same blog post and not new blog posts on the same topic from different angles. Absolutely right, Lindsay. Blog posts are very static. You're not, a business is not a publishing company, right? It's not your job to be a news website and have and publish the latest thought processes. Your job is to be a library, right? So you think of your website as a library and not a publishing platform. So as a library, a book which was written 100 years ago is probably as pertinent today. So that's the idea. A blog which you wrote 5 years ago is probably as useful today as it was then. So link back to it, of course. And that's why producing content on LinkedIn is a breeze, because you're linking back to stuff which is already there. Your blogs are already there. I'm just gonna project this question from Manuel. Also, is it a good strategy to generate case studies? I see that many companies use it. However, I rarely read a case study when visiting a website. Absolutely right. Some content is not just for reading, Manuel. Some of it is for. So when you see a case study, you don't read it because you know what the customer is going to say, right? uh, you don't read because the customer is going to be like, oh, I worked with them, they were awesome, and felicitations and so on and so forth. But the idea is quite simple. They're presenting the case study wrong. They're saying how we helped such and such customer to something. The idea of presenting a case study is, here are a few ways to solve this problem, right? Highlight the problem. The problem was this, here are a few solutions, right? So you're talking about the problem, you're solving the problem as you go, you're giving them real content, and then all your examples are from the same customer. There are quotes that this happened, and this was the problem we were facing, and this happened, and then this was the solution. And at the end, of course, there's a plug that, of course, we are writing it, we solved that problem, contact us for more, and so on and so forth. But the idea is, again, the angle, right? You're not writing content just to produce a case study. You're writing so that you're helping a future customer solve the same problem much more easily, right? And of course, you have already solved it, so you're the best person to buy from, right? Of course. Michael has a question here, again, extremely pertinent. Loving how pertinent the questions are. Should you post on your LinkedIn personal profile or a business page? Can you post on your business page via example buffer? I'm not really sure about this one. The second part of your question about can you post to your business profile via buffer, but I am pretty sure I mean, does not make sense for buffer to sell only to individuals, right? They would make much more money if they sold to businesses. So I think they would. By the way, shameless plug, we at Zoho have a software called Zoho Social. Uh, Try that out as well. To the first part of your question, should you post on LinkedIn personal profile or a business page? If you are the business owner and you own the company, it becomes a very difficult choice. But if you're an employee, it's a pretty straightforward choice. You use the business page, and the employees reshare, right? The benefit that you will have from posting from the business page is that your employees can reshare, they can engage, they can amplify your voice because they have their own network, and especially the sales guy will have networks with customers, so they will all get to see it even if they're not following your business page. Not so much on personal profiles, because it becomes very uh, you know yeah, probably it is possible. So line is blurred really if you are the business owner. If you are the employee, it's pretty clear that you are posting from the business page often. Also, the language really changes. I'm not so my take on this is, if you're posting from the personal profile, you can't start saying we at this did this and we are no, it sort of sounds very impersonal. Whereas if you're from a personal profile, a post would be, some sort of a personal angle to that whole thing. It's all about content angle, right? So you could actually have the same piece of content being posted on the business profile with a separate angle, and a personal profile with a slightly different angle, is how I see things. Ooh. uh, wow, amazing question again, Manuel. LinkedIn blog. So I did a lot of research on it, and I figured out that the best way. I'm just gonna give you a quick one because time. You're already writing to us, so you can include this, and I'll take it separately as well. Always, if you're writing a blog, write 1,000 word blog on your website. Make a 200 250 word précis for your LinkedIn post. I mean, for your LinkedIn blog, post it there, link it back to your website, right? Then you have a post. You can easily link it to your website or your LinkedIn blog, whichever works with you. That way, you have 1,000 words on your website, 200 words on a LinkedIn blog, calling out your website blog. Plus, you of course have as many posts as you want on it. Right. I'm so sorry. I have overrun time by 2 minutes now, so I'm just gonna quickly run you through these tips, and of course, you'll have the slides later. So these are just tips. Absolutely, last slide. Research, right? Content is all about research. Sorry, not all about research. A lot of it is about research. So take inspiration from from what your competitors are doing. You will find a lot of inspiration there. Make employees your advocates. Encourage employees to share your company updates. You will not believe how effective this is. This is one of those real tips which can change the way your company operates. If your company has 5,000 followers, uh, 200 employees will have more than 5,000 followers, and the amplification is just crazy, right? And it really works. Engage in conversation, follow industry experts and industry analysts, engage with them. That will give you a lot of amplification all the time. At mention is one of the best things that ever happened to LinkedIn. Uh, don't go overboard. Don't do like 20 at mentions. But yeah, three, five or six is okay. Similarly, I saw a question around hashtags. I'm just gonna take it quickly here. How many hashtags should you have? Not more than three. You know, I have tried. I have experimented with a lot of stuff. I find three is neat, looks visually neat, and usually covers everything. So have a very specific hashtag. Have a generic hashtag. So for Zoho Commerce, for example, we have e-commerce as the generic hashtag, e-commerce marketing if it's a marketing related post, and e-commerce tips or e-commerce sales or something of that nature as a third one, right? That's the hashtag. Empower sales with LinkedIn, right? So one of the questions I remember taking early on is sales about Sales Navigator. That's one way to empower your employees. Excuse me. The just a second. The other way is to connect with potential clients, right? And share their company posts or their posts regularly. Share it, put a comment on it, engage on their posts. It will give you an unbelievable amount of trust with them. They will immediately, I mean, if you're talking about them all the time, they will have so much trust on you. That will give you so much leverage to engage contextually with them. You will never have to make a cold call in your life. LinkedIn messages will replace cold calls for you in a jiffy. I have seen it happen. It is amazing. It needs. I mean, it's actually it's called social selling, and there are books on it. There is an entire stream of sales on it. So research, you'll figure it out. Again, I hope you're relevant, helpful, and consistent whenever you're doing content and whenever you're working on LinkedIn. You don't have to do paid to get noticed on LinkedIn yet, and that's a great thing for all of us. And that's about it. Here is, by the way, our marketing. I'm just going to leave it out there. So you can reach me directly here. So it's me and Christine on this email ID, marketing@zohosites.com. Do write into me as detailed as you want. I'll be very happy to take your questions. That's why that's what I'm here for.